Hi, my name is Brant Jensen. I was diagnosed with CVID in 2004. Um, I lived in San Diego at the time, and I actually moved back there after I had a short stay in Utah. And I was working for the phone company at the time and got sick and couldn't understand why I was so sick all the time. And I ended up going and getting a test done because one of my managers told me, maybe you should go in and get checked out because I was having issues with blurry vision. And now that I look back on it, it's kind of crazy how it came along. I sit here during the functions that we go to and I listen to everybody's story on how they were diagnosed. And I think there really needs to be a better way for the diagnosis to come about. And, hearing about the stuff that I get to hear at this retreat, it sounds like they're on a better track than what it was in the past because, if they had the SCID program as a newborn for me, maybe they would have picked up on this a lot sooner. But I was diagnosed after I went to an eye doctor. And the eye doctor told me, you got 20/20 vision. There's nothing wrong with you. And I'd been through the ropes of doctors where you're making this up or you're making it sound worse than what it is. And to me, it got to a point where I was tired. I was exhausted. I had basically lost hope that it was going to be something miraculous or something that could be fixed. And it ended up turning out that the eye doctor sent me over across the hall to get some blood work done because they saw absolutely nothing wrong with my vision at the time. What I was describing to them didn't seem to be related with the eyes, but related with something else. And so they shot me across the hall and they ordered a AIDS test along with other blood work just to check counts and everything else. And it was probably the scariest point in my life. I sat there for 2 days after that test wondering if I had AIDS, wondering if something was extremely wrong with me, if I had become infectious, and I started treating others different because I didn't know what was wrong. And so 2 days after the blood test, I called and they told me, everything came back great except for your B counts. They came back extremely low. So we want you to get together with the immunologist down in San Diego. And she was one of the best, Catherine Woosner. She was down out of Torrey Pines facility down there. And I met up with her and met her first thing in the hospital. And they put me in probably a 6 by 8 foot room, sat me in a chair, explained to me, what was low, what the treatment plan was. And it wasn't until that point that I was relieved to get a diagnosis. I was relieved to have some type of answer of what was going on, but I was also alone. I was scared. I was afraid of what the future had to hold for me. And they told me, you've got to do this the rest of your life. And in that moment, doing it the rest of my life, I've never had to face anything. I've never been hospitalized. I've never had to experience anything like that. And in that moment, I had to do it alone. But I had such a great support system with the doctors that were involved, and with the answer that I finally got. And so I sat in that room for 8 hours, and I was hooked up to an IV. They had no TV. We had no MP3 players at that time that, were cost affordable like they are today. They weren't built into our phones. We didn't have texting. So I sat in this chair that reclined, thankfully, and they switched out my bag. I took 2.5 bags within the time that I was there. And I got to really experience what it was like to truly be alone and have nothing but hope in that moment. And I would go in and out of sleep, and it wasn't until I got the bill for this with the insurance that I had working for the phone company at the time. I'd done 2 treatments, and I had to take a day off of work. It was either a Tuesday or a Thursday. So I had to take 8 hours off of work. I lost that pay. I had to go in and pay for the treatment, which ended up being $700 to $800. If I remember correctly, it was just over $800 every 3 weeks. And I thought at that moment, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? How am I going to survive? On top of paying rent that I was already paying at the time, and I just moved back, and I was trying to figure out my life, and how much that actually changed my life in that moment. I ended up moving back to Utah with my folks. And so I had to start the process over again, where I had to obtain insurance. And within that time of obtaining insurance and getting denied, I started to question if I really needed it. And I went for about 10 years without treatments. And they, I hear it all the time. You're one of the lucky ones that you went for so long without it. And I pushed through. I worked a full-time job. I worked extreme amount of hours a day. And somehow at the end of the day, even though I was exhausted, I made it through without my treatment. And it wasn't until I met my wife, and I told my wife, and we just actually had our 2-year anniversary yesterday while we're at this retreat. And it wasn't until I met my wife and I told her, after we'd already started a relationship, this is something that I live with. This is something that I'm gonna have to deal with at some point. Can you manage it? And can you handle it? And it was a lot for her to take on. And she took it on pretty well, but we've got a blended family. We've actually got 6 children. We've got a beautiful home. We've got a amazing family. We've got amazing support. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be who I am right now. I got back into it. I got the support that I needed. I'm still working on it. But it's been amazing to me, because I started with the IVIG again, with my CVID. We had a nurse come into our home instead of going into a hospital, because of the insurance that she has through her work is amazing. And it's completely different in the cost. It's affordable. It's changed over the past 10 years, tenfold. And so I had nurses come in. I tried IVIG, didn't go too well for me, and I went and changed to the sub-Q. And the sub-Q was such an amazing experience in changing the fact that I didn't have to have a nurse come in, that I could do it myself, that I could really do it at my own pace and take the responsibility for it at the right cost. And I was able to sit there and have my kids help me. My kids were able to show me empathy and compassion and understanding. They get involved, they get inspired, and they really are the forefront for me to be a better person, to be a better dad, to be a better patient. And if it wasn't for my wife, who I love dearly, I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be telling my story, and I would be sitting back doing the things I did for 10 years and just forgetting about it and not dealing with it. And things would have just got worse. You know, when I started this program of doing the subcutaneous and getting with my amazing doctor, Dr. Adi, he put together a program that works better for my situation. He listens to me. He listens to our input, our concerns, and he really puts together a plan. And so I think that it's amazing in what they've done and what they've come up with, the IDF, the support. I get to talk to people online. I don't take advantage of it as much as I probably should, but I know that there's support out there. I know that I'm not alone. And when I come to these events, or, you know, just even the get-togethers, you know, I get to see people that have done the struggle, that have struggled more than me, that have been amazed by my story, that have been amazed by how normal I look. And to me, it's really a trying story when I look back at it. When I look back, I should have done this, or I could have done this. But I think everybody has a moment in their life where everything happens for a reason and everything falls into place. And when I fell into place with my wife and I was able to open that storybook again, I thank her as much as possible for all that she does, for what she has to put up with when I have my side effects, when I have my bad days. You know, I'm thankful when I have my good days. And I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress. And I'm so thankful for her, and that she encourages me to get out more, to get involved. She wants to be involved. She wants the kids to be involved. The kids want to be involved. And it really gives me a chance of hope that there's a better future for people out there. And I know that if it comes to the point of, if it lies within the family, within the bloodline, and one of my kids has to come up with it, I know that there's a support team. I know that there's somebody that's already been there, somebody who understands it, somebody who knows how to deal with it. And to me, it's a movement to help me, inspire me again, because I lost so much of myself during the hard times. And so my plan is next year, Salt Lake City, somewhere in Utah, if it be Salt Lake or Farmington, we're going to create an IDF walk. We're going to start a movement here. I'm going to get involved, and we're going to get this thing right. We're going to get the word out. We're going to get people involved, and we're really going to make a difference and build everybody's knowledge and give people a chance to take some responsibility, but also give people a chance to get educated. And that's my hope for the future, that I can walk around and say, I've got this rare disease, I've got this rare thing, and people know about it. Because I went through doctors. I went through doctors at the beginning that had no idea what my CVID, my common variable immunodeficiency, was. They never learned it in school, and it gives me a chance to say, wow, it's really rare. For somebody who went to med school, doesn't know about it. And that's my story. I'm still pushing through. I live every day. I'm gonna get better. I've gotten better than from where I was a year ago, 2 years ago. And I'm gonna be back here next year. I'm gonna be involved. I'm gonna be an inspiration, hopefully, to the others that have to deal with it, or I'm gonna be able to give somebody some information to help them through their struggle so they didn't have to struggle as much as I did. And that's my story.